All right, well, hello. Today on the podcast, I've got Lisa Alward, Vie Interiors. Have I said all that right? No.
Bella Vie.
Bella Vie? Well, I've got that wrong, but you know what? I'm not going to correct myself. I'm just going to roll on. So, Vie Interiors. We actually just practiced before I started so that I didn't stuff it up, and yet I still stuffed it up. So maybe this voice acting thing isn't going as well as I thought.
It's only because I said most people say Bella Vie and get it wrong.
See, you've stitched me up. And because I'm here looking at the book that you've brought in for me and that you've signed for me, which I'm very excited about, because what I laugh about is we're here at my office and I would describe our design philosophy as frat house, or, you know, when you first move out of home, you don't have any money and you use milk crates and stuff off the side of the road. That's kind of our design philosophy, and then just stuff that we like.
That is correct.
Yeah, it's not great. And as I bring somebody in that specialises in interior design, I look around and I go, wow, what a shambles. However, you did note the nice Chesterfield in our waiting area. So
Yes, I did. But firstly, let me say thank you for having me here. And I didn't come here to critique your interior design. So I think we're winning.
yeah, look, I think we've done very well. And I mean, I'm absolutely delighted to have you on here because we don't actually know each other outside of a couple of weeks ago. And I think that that's pretty cool because I've had a lot of guests on recently that I sort of go back with quite a way. Whereas what we're doing here, this is all new for me.
Ooh.
Because I don't know the story. I don't know the background. We've obviously talked a little bit. I've got a few ins and outs. But we met through the Brisbane Small Business Network here in Brisbane, little Facebook group, and that all comes together. And we were at one of their meetings.
Monthly meetings?
Yeah, and you and I got chatting, and I've got to be honest, it was the vibe. And I went, what a cool human. And we kept chatting, and I went, do you know what? I really like what you do. I've checked out your business. I've seen the things that you do. Love your energy. I think you'd better come on and chat to me.
Well, I did ask.
Well, did you?
I was very forward.
Were you just? Oh, there you go.
So you didn't even register to that?
No,
I was like, you said, I've got a podcast. I said, oh, can I be on it? And you just kept talking. I went, well, I guess not.
No. Look, we don't give these slots away easily. I mean, I try to at least consider who I'm having on first. But no, look, it was a no-brainer coming in and talking to you today, and I'm really glad that you made the time, even if you were an hour late.
Oh, it was 45 minutes, and thank you so much for highlighting that.
Mate,
I really appreciate
it. And I would throw you right under the bus.
Well, actually, okay, you thought she's going to be on time. She's going to be early.
Yes.
And normally I am. But, my brain was on fire this morning and I was so into what I was doing at work that I completely missed the start and leaving time. And, anyway, I'm here now.
No, absolutely, you're here now.
Which is great.
And we've had a good laugh about that. So, I can forgive you for being late. You can forgive me for pronouncing your business name properly. And then what we can do is we can get into a little bit of a conversation about you, because I'm fascinated at your story. Your story is one that, you've given me a few little ins and outs, and I mean, it's a hell of a story. You've lived quite a journey, and you work today in interior design, but how you got there is a very different path.
It is, but I think that it's all the layers that make who I am today. So I think Bella Vie means beautiful life. Bella, it's Italian. Vie, it's French. It's how I am because I've just mixed it up. People say, well, why don't you call it Bella Vita? Or, it's like you can't do it like that. But, I think I am going to do what I want to do. And so I'm like, nope, Bella Vie, beautiful life. I liked the name originally because it was like, I want to create a beautiful life for myself. And it has been a name that has been around for many, many years. And I have a past life. I started my career in the rag trade, so in fashion in Melbourne. And I studied at TAFE, and I thought, this is a great career. I know how to sew. I'll do this. I was very good at it. Usually most of the things I put my hand to, I'm like, oh, I can do this. And so I worked for a big corporation, Solomon Lew, and I loved it, did very well in it, and then fell into retail with my first husband, and we had 8 Jalique stores. And we started with $2,000, turned it into a business that was turning over more than $5 million a year. And it was amazing. We had a young family and we learned everything on the fly. We just, I was constantly learning. Took a lot of time to study. And so moved from retail. My marriage fell apart. And so it sort of forced me into a new path of starting again, which was probably a really pivotal time in my life. And so, I went, I tried doing skincare on my own, but it was more working for other people. I didn't love working for other people. It never felt quite right after working for myself and having, my own businesses. And so I ended up studying interior design when my 4th child was a little infant. And I did that online in the UK. I was living there for a couple of years and it was great. It was actually at a time when Australia, you couldn't do interior design or interior architecture as it's probably known more widely now. You couldn't do that. And so I did it online. I found a course in the UK and I sort of had to adapt to, their measurements, their systems, their regulations, not the building code of Australia. That was a big experience learning how to study online. Actually, do you want to know why I actually did a bachelor?
Please.
My eldest son, I saw that he had enrolled in university to do a bachelor. I'm like, well, if he can do one, I can do one too.
Mate, that's as good a reason as any.
So I did. So I was like, I can study that. So I went into interior design and when I finished, I looked at it and I went, oh, interior design doesn't pay much. I guess I might go and start my own business. And I had enough experience, I think, in other things that, I felt confident in starting my own business. I don't know if I was confident. I met someone who literally said, Lisa, you can do this.
That's all you need sometimes, isn't it, though? If you've got someone that says, no, you'll be right. You go, no, I probably will be. Because you've got, that's the thing, you've covered a fair bit there in a very short time. But there's a hell of a lot. Like, it's a big story.
I haven't actually finished all of it. Do you know
I don't want to interrupt that then.
I did real estate for a little while.
Well, yep, okay.
I did property styling for a little while. That was like in between there. So I had my interior design business for about 3 or 4 years in Canberra. We posted there with my second husband for his employment. And at that time, my younger brother took his life. And I pretty much went, I don't want to do this. I can't help people with paint colours. I can't help this. I can't do this. It was actually quite another pivotal moment in my life, I guess. And, for me, I was like, I just need to take a break. So I felt very, very lost at that point in my life. And someone offered me the opportunity to do real estate. So I took it. So, that's how I sort of got into real estate. I did that for a little while, moved to Queensland and did property styling, did retail sales. I've done a lot of different things, I must tell you, Scott.
You sure have. And one that I really enjoyed that you mentioned in our earlier conversation was the little gig you picked up when you were in the UK.
Oh, so I went to the UK. I was working for the Purist Company, a skincare company, and I was like, my husband's being posted to the UK, and they said, okay, well, we love what you do. Will you be the European Sales and Marketing Manager? I went, sure. I'll go over there and do that. So I get there, and then when I got there, they said, actually, while you're here, one of the things we do is we sell on QVC. could you be the person on QVC? It's only, small audience, like 60 million people
60 million,
in the
yeah,
UK.
great, small
And I'm
audience.
like, okay. So I actually did that. It was a lot of fun.
Was
and,
it?
The TV bug has not left me. It's sort of pulling at my heels a little at the moment. And I'm like, I want to do it again.
I must say, I spent a period of time in my 20s where I was, up late, drinking a lot, all the things that you do as a misbehaving young man. And I still recall this thing that we were watching at about 2 a.m. called the Brown and Crisp, which was like a bag that you could chuck stuff in and then put it in the microwave. And you could microwave stuff and make it brown and crisp. So, look, there's the effect of TV sales. That, and I've always just wanted to add steak knives as a free giveaway
I was gonna say.
to pretty much everything. So there is a lingering effect of how powerful those tools are.
Late night, can't sleep, watch, TV shopping. It's been taken over by phones and streaming now, I think.
Look, I'm sure it has, but there's probably still a market. It's hilarious. There's a market for everything. So
Daytime TV.
daytime TV would be the one. Yes, I had a neighbour that used to watch that 16 hours a day. So there's people, yeah.
Wow. That's a lot.
Oh, yes. No, it was a very odd character. With what you've done now, you've actually set yourself up here in Brisbane. You've got your own office here in Brisbane as well and a team of staff. And like the book that you've brought for me as well is something that's really lovely. And, you're now self-published as well. It's quite extraordinary to sort of meet you and see all the things that you've done and all the things that have come out of it. But simultaneously, I think the path to get there has been one that's been fairly complicated. And I think that was something that really came across when I spoke to you that first time that we met, was you're somebody that just exudes joy. You've got a real energy about you and you've got the capacity to light up a room. But I certainly have discovered over time that the sort of person that has the capacity to light up a room probably does it because they know what the other side looks like. And I think that was something that, we sort of shared together. It's just been, it's been really fascinating talking to you about the energy that you bring to what you do now. And, even as you described just the commercial story without even looking at anything else. Just the layers of complexity, the fact that you've built these things up, they've gotten to that point, then you've sort of had to start again. You've had to start again how many times?
A lot.
A lot.
A lot.
But the difference being, I guess, you're not starting from zero, as you said. You're starting each time. There is a new level. There's a new layer that you've unlocked. There's a new level that you've unlocked with those skills behind you. But it seems that now you've sort of found your own voice. Is that
I have.
very
I
close
have
to what
found-
we've found?
Do you know what? I have found my own voice. It's taken a long time and I feel like, you're right. I've had to start again. And starting again, I left my first husband. It was me that ended the marriage. Well, maybe his actions, but me that ended the marriage. And which meant starting again. I remarried. I married someone in the army, so we have moved a lot, which actually then meant every time we moved, I had to start again, be a new person. One of my strengths is getting to know people, and I can get to know people fairly quickly. I'm not afraid to talk to people. I'm an extrovert. So that comes very easily for me. But at the same token, I'm a Cancerian, so we're very private, we sort of, I let the things out I want to let out, but I'm not going to let everything out. And, it's a very hard process to actually restart. Yes, when I got here to Brisbane 6 years ago, my husband was posted here and I was like, I actually probably came to Brisbane kicking and screaming. I'm like, I don't want to go there. I'm originally from Melbourne. I'm getting further from home. And I just wanted to go back there because that's where my 3 children, my older children, were living. And I really wanted to go back there. And I thought that was very pivotal in my success in life was that I had their approval. And, I realised that, now that I don't need anyone else's approval to be who I am, I can be myself, and I look inwards, for that. And when you talk about, dark, I've had a difficult path. You can't have light without dark. Lightness and darkness balance each other out. You need to have both. I am so vibrant now because of the things that I've been through in my life. I lost my parents quite young, and at difficult times. I lost my father 2 weeks before my first child was born, and that was back many years ago now. And I was only 25 at the time, actually 26 at the time. I lost my nana, who I was close to both those two, 2 months before my second child was born, and I lost my mum 5 days before my third child was born. So, I was praying that I didn't lose anyone with my fourth. And they were really tough things. But I guess having a new child, I probably brushed the grief and the hard aspects of losing somebody under the carpet, and just went, you know what, you've got a baby, focus on that and everything will be okay. And I managed to keep that smiling face and keep going and doing things for many, many years. But I felt like I hadn't dealt with them. And it wasn't until my brother took his life in 2016 that I actually really fell apart for the first time. And it meant I shut my business. That's when I shut my interior design business that I'd built up in Canberra. I had a very supportive network around me. And, at that point, they really helped me to get, through that. I was offered the position in real estate. That my builder that I was working with said, come on, you wanted to win some awards. Let's win some awards. And we entered and we won, But, that they were all things that were just propping me up again. And so when I moved up here to Brisbane, I got here and I was like, I'm not going to do my own business. I'm just going to, take a job so I don't have that. It's very stressful. And I know my brother took his life. He was a veteran and he had PTSD. I was the eldest I am probably the matriarch of our family. I'm the eldest of 5. And, I felt quite responsible for his death. I spoke a lot at that time, in the veteran community. I did things in the Herald Sun, that was just straight off the back of, there was a campaign for Save Our Sons, veteran suicide. So I spent a lot of time doing that. I joined a not-for-profit and helped speak about that. I spoke at Government House on veteran suicide. I tried to really get my, a voice there for my brother, and things that he couldn't say, and probably, other veterans, it's a really tough role that they have. But then I probably found it too hard to deal with. I found, as I couldn't maintain that, and I'm still battling with my own anxiety over that, losing my brother, my parents, all those things. So I then was like, okay, well, what am I going to do with my own life? Well, I'm just going to go back into interior design. I know it well, and I've been doing that since I arrived here, and slowly stepping back up. I've had a lot of counselling. I must say that is one thing the Army do well. They do support you when you're in these tough times, and it can be, it can have a stigma around it, and I think that's one of the things I realised losing my brother was that men don't speak. They don't share their problems as much as they probably should, and me being very vocal, I will talk. Ask me a question, I'll answer it, and so for me, I have done that counselling. I've done a lot of work, and it's taken a long time, and it's one of those things that I've picked up over the years as I've needed to. And so my business, I was working at home, COVID hit. My son came back into my life. I hadn't seen him for 14 years, and he came to stay with me right as COVID hit. So we had 6 weeks together, which was amazing. My son taught me a lot. I guess in those 6 weeks. So he was bipolar, and had lost his nana. She was bipolar many years ago, back in 2000, I think, and it hit him hard. And he had self-medicated, trying to deal with the bipolar. Divorced parents, not seeing his mum. There was probably a lot of layers in that. And, but for me, I really took away from it his love. Might be hard to talk. And he probably instilled that believe in yourself. So when I wrote the book, it was just off the back of him spending 6 weeks with me. He said, Mum, he said, you need to be more fun. You have more fun. You used to be lots of fun when you were younger. He said, I want you to have more fun. And he said, and you need to write the book. He said, just write the book. He used to have these amazing ideas with business. He'd go, you should just do this and you should do that and you should do this. I'm like, oh my gosh, these are the things that, I love and I know about myself, but I'd forgotten about them. I'd put them away. And so literally after he left, I spent 3 months writing the book. Every Sunday I would write a chapter. I'd met a friend and she was a magazine editor. So she said, I'll edit it for you. And it was great. But, I wrote the book and it sat there. And Mr. Anxiety on my shoulder popped out and was like, oh, who are you to write a book? You can't write a book. Who do you think you are to tell people how to do interior design? And so I didn't do anything with it. And then my son, it was only just over a year ago, took his life. And, at that point, I was like, we've got nothing to lose. So, put the book out. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to do this book. I'm going to find a way to get this book out. And so I was like, right, I've got to find someone to publish it. Do you know how hard it is to get a publisher if you never, you don't have anything? So I was like, well, you can self-publish. I'll just self-publish. I'm going to do that. I'm like, I guess I'll just find out how to do it. I Google, I can just find out. And a neighbour moved in. I'm talking to her. What do you do? I'm an author. Actually, she writes mafia books. Oh, my goodness. Mafia romance. They are pretty out there.
Spicy.
Very spicy. And she says, and to support that as well, I do the interior designer books. And I went, can you just wait here? So I run next door and I come back and I said, see this? I've written a book. Can you help me with it? I need to publish it. And she really, literally, she did my cover. She did the interior of the book. And it's amazing. And she finished it and she's like, okay, so you got to do a dedication. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to dedicate it to my son. And then something, I have this, I don't know, sixth sense. Somebody was like, my brother's going to be like, what about me? So I dedicate it to my brother and my son. And, for me, it's just one of those things in life that I have done now. And I remember the day I did the launch, I was like literally a week before I'm going to do a launch. And everyone's like, you're crazy. I've always trusted my gut and I follow my heart a little too. And I did a launch and I remember giving the speech and probably be a bit like just then when I start to lose my voice about something that's really hard to talk about, I take a deep breath and I actually feel them right next to me. And I'm like, okay, you've got this. You can do this. And so, yeah, I put the book out. It is Beautiful Life. It is a guide. For me, it's a guide to finding your beautiful life. I do create beautiful homes, but it's more than that. I want people to really love their life. The life you have, find a way deep down how you can be happy. You know, like I can tell you how to create beautiful homes all you want, but it's within you.
And I think that that's the hardest thing that any of us will ever figure out in life, that we actually already have the answers. And that's really annoying, I've found, because you think the answer is in the next thing, the next success, the next mentor. And because I flicked it open and I've got the book open in front of me, and this was actually a sentence that I'd spotted earlier. And it said to me on this dedication page, it says, "You found the light in me I could not find." And that is so powerfully beautiful to me, because I've shared with you, and I've shared quite publicly some of my own battles. And it's a side of choosing your own destiny, or even if you don't, the complexities. And it's something that I think that is missing from, daily discussions. I don't want to talk about the weather. I don't want to talk about, mundane local things. I want to talk about life, and not just the shiny, glossy side and look at what I'm doing and look at these cool things and look at these trinkets that I've acquired. I want to talk about the experience. And if you go all the way back to Robin Williams, you want to suck the marrow out of life. I've always resonated with that. And then the other thing I've come to learn through my own dark journey is the people that tend to light up the room tend to do it because they've seen the most darkness and they have struggled. And the way that I reflect on it, and the reason that I try to bring joy into a space, is that I don't want to see people suffer the way that I have suffered. And a lot of my suffering came from my business. It was a prison that I created for myself, and I didn't realise that at the time, and that compounding with other things. It's why when I sit and I talk to you and I look at what you're doing off the back of, unimaginable tragedy, finding a way forward, finding a way to persist, finding a way to do it with joy, that just makes my heart sing. And it was, when I got you on here today, it was funny, and I didn't know which way you'd want to go with it, or whether you'd be comfortable to talk about all these things. But this is it. This is what I want to. When I talk to people, I love the story, but there's another layer behind that we don't often get to. And I have appreciated in you that, we've just gone there.
We've got to talk about it. Honestly,
Mate,
we've got to talk about it. Men don't
talk about it.
Honestly, I feel like, look, there's probably lots and lots of women who don't talk, but I have experienced losing 2 men in my life because they couldn't talk about it. And, I think that a lot of people struggle. Business is hard. Business is hard. I honestly, it's one of the hardest things is you're on your own for so many hours and you're in your own head. And I'm probably like you, that I have loads of ideas. I'm like, I want to do this. I want to do this. Maybe this week I could do this, lots and lots. And some are just ideas. Others, are things that I'm going to do. I've probably, had to learn how to find the things that are meaningful. I used to be chasing the dollars. Now I don't do that because it is really, for me, about creating beautiful lives. It is about having these conversations. It is about making, no matter what life you have, making it count, making it matter. And when you read out the line in my book, I couldn't think of a dedication. And I'm writing the book and I'll finish the book and I'm like, okay, I need to put something in there. And when my son was living with me, we watched a movie. He says, Mum, have you watched this movie, A Star is Born? And Lady Gaga. And I was like, no, And he goes, all right, come on, let's sit on the couch one night and watch this. He sat at one end. I sat on the other end where I sit every morning now and meditate. And I cried and cried. I was like, and I looked at the other end of the sofa and I knew that that's what would happen to him then. I knew then, and I knew that I would lose him young. And it was really hard. And then I was listening to the soundtrack in the car one day and I heard that song and it said, you found the light in me I could not find. And I'm like, that is it. Stop, pause, I went back and I'm like, that is the line. And every time I listen to it, I sing that so loud to myself that in the car. And for probably over a year, I couldn't play it without crying. And I would there's 2 songs in there, and I would every time I'd get to that bit and I'd cry again and again. So yeah, it's really probably only after it past 12 months that I've been able to sort of listen to it and just thank him for it. But yeah, I think it was a message I was meant to get from him.
And it's very strange how the experiences of life push you in these different directions, even down to, what we're doing here today and the capacity to talk and to talk openly and to share, and for this to go out to people that are listening to it that, may be relating or not sure or never even heard these sort of discussions before. It fills me with joy because there was a time not that long ago where I didn't have faith in my own voice and I didn't believe. And the things that I do here today, and a big reason behind this podcast was I've got to believe my own voice. Behind closed doors, absolutely, I believed it as much as I could, but I couldn't say it out loud. And I really struggled, even the first time I sort of publicly spoke about the stuff that I'd dealt with. That was the way that I generally do things, where something pisses me off and then I have a, huge, and just let it all out. And trying to find ways to do that better. That's what this is, because the same as you, in my life, in my years, I've watched a lot of people battle, and to the best of my ability, I have tried to lend a hand, to listen, to not provide solutions, because quite often people don't want a solution. They just want to be heard. And then if they're potentially open to a solution, helping them with that too. Because, and certainly, and with, any sort of internal struggle, I thank my wife for saving me, because I needed to go and get medical help. I had to go and see a doctor, and that's actually now my advice to, quite a number of fellas in particular that have opened up to me and said, I'm not okay. And people that, I meet much the same as when I first met you, that are just a glowing ball of energy. And then, as I ever so quickly do, I tell them my life story, and my wife makes fun of me. She's like, you don't need to tell the person at McDonald's, you don't, the person at the window there. You don't need to, you don't need to tell people your life story. You don't need, but I can't help myself. I can't help wanting to be warm and to be genuine, because what I have found is that allows people the space to open up themselves. And in this path that we choose, and in a path of self-employment and, trying to make something of yourself, having people and places to speak freely without fear, without judgment, I think that is beyond important.
I agree. I think that's why I joined Brisbane Small Business Networking Group, was because I was like, I need to find somewhere to talk. I need to I obviously need like-minded people, people who actually are running their own businesses. You know, we're probably all going through the same sort of challenges. You know, so finding your people, it is hard. I'm a bit like you. I do want to share everything straight away. I'm more than happy to talk. Ask me and I'll talk. But yeah, your wife's probably right. You know, not everybody wants to know.
She said to me, she's like, mate, just shut up. And I'm like, but I don't know.
You're only sharing it because you need to and you want to. And
I want to.
Yeah.
And I've seen too many people that like just complain. You know, when you see somebody in the morning and they're like, oh, God, well, today, can you believe this and that and something else? And I'm like, really? So, like, nothing this morning was nice. Like, not one thing.
well, that's, you know, I rang you. I was like, oh my goodness. You know what? I've mucked up the time coming to see you. And I thought, I'm going to call him because, look, to be honest, you have an amazing voice to listen to. It's very calming. And I listened to your podcast. I'm not like cars. I'm not even into cars. I've got a Tesla. And you know why I bought a Tesla? So I didn't have to put fuel in it because I don't like doing fuel. I don't want to do fuel. I don't want to have to worry about it. And, you know, so, but I listen to it because I actually find it really calming. I find that you are asking the questions that, you know, need to be, and talking about the topics that need to be talked about. And honestly, I'm really flattered that I actually got to speak to you today because I do think that for me, finding my voice is really important, as it is for you. I don't know what I'm supposed to be talking about. I don't know, but I do know that I have something to offer, and I do know that I've been through these things for a reason. I need to talk about it. You know, there is people out there who really just don't know what they're doing. Is this normal? Too scared to ask someone. What if I go to the doctors? Yeah, you know what? I've been on medication. I had a year of it back in 2008 or 9. Had a lot of struggle with anxiety, had a lot of counselling. Now I have the tools and I know when something stresses me a little bit, I go, okay, take a deep breath. These are things you do. I meditate every day. I exercise. You know, I know the people to talk to and what topics to talk to them about because there is some people you can't share everything with. I do know that you come out with that sunny disposition in the morning and you are going to be greeted with that sunny disposition most of the time.
Overwhelmingly. And there's even a friend of mine that I've been spending a bit of time with recently, and he's going through some of his own challenges. And he was talking to me about it. And I said, one of the biggest things you can do to make a difference immediately is when you interact with people outside of your home, or obviously at home as well, but, you know, he's there by himself, is you do it with great joy, like just wonderful joy. And you smile at people and you laugh and you try and I love trying to make people laugh. I really enjoy that. And because I think about all the shit that people are dealing with on a daily basis. And the more you talk to people, you know, whenever you talk to anybody, you know, the amount of chaos in any human being's life at any point in time is generally fairly extraordinary. Once you peel back a couple of layers, it's phenomenal.
I agree. And you know what? People will say to me, oh my goodness, you've been through so much. But you know what? I'm still here. I'm healthy. I have an amazing family. I have an amazing business. I have so many things to be grateful for. And, you know, I can't complain. You know, I honestly, I sort of joke, I can't complain, nobody's listening. But, you know, it is a bit like I have nothing, you know, and even now, like I crashed my Tesla recently and I literally went, okay, well, I'm okay. It's happened. And you know what? Nobody's died. I've had worse than this. Losing my son is probably my measure for anything now. It's like, could it be worse than that? No. So move on.
And that, you know, that's not the way you want to learn that perspective. And I don't, you know, it's really not. But it's so accurate. We put so much stress on ourselves about thousands of decisions that we make in a day, about what we're doing, about what we're eating, what we choose to do, what we choose to say, you know, how we influence our family, how we speak to our partner, how we deal with our children, how we act in our business. And I say to people all the time now, I'm like, none of this matters. Like nothing matters. Nothing we do matters. None of this matters. So rather than letting it tear you to pieces, why not have some fun with it?
Yeah.
Like why not just throw yourself into it and see what happens? Because, you know, in the great scheme of things,
It doesn't matter.
It
And you
really
are
doesn't matter.
100% right.
So why not all try and do a little bit better together?
Yes,
Why
I
not
think
make
collectively.
other people's days a little
Yes,
bit
yes.
better. Like why not? If you make one person's day a little bit better, and this is something that I try to do, is I'm like, if I make that one person that I make, you know, jokes at the drive-through window, if I make them smile because, you know, they've had 30 other dickheads, you know, they've stuffed up the order and something's gone wrong and they've dropped this and the phone's gone flat and something else has happened, and they go, geez, that guy was a clown, but, you know, it puts a little smile on their face. To me, that's a win.
It is a win. And I agree with you that these things don't matter. I think I'm a bit of a believer in your journey here is predetermined. You are going to end up in exactly the same spot. So, you know, if you do something and you think it's wrong, it's just, okay, that didn't work. What next? And find a way. There's no, I know inertia, you know, you're standing there and going, I can't make a decision. I don't know what to do. Do you know what? Just make a decision and do something. It will either work or it won't. And that is probably one of the things I have learnt most recently, is to take it, you know, like I said to my husband at the end of last year, I want to go into a studio, move my business out of home. And he's like, oh, can you afford to do that? And I was like, well, can I not afford to? I want to do it and I'll make it work. I know I can. I can do this. And, you know, and if it didn't work out, well, okay, back to the drawing board. It is working incredibly well and I love it. And I love it so much.
But getting past that, the self-doubt, the self-sabotage, all these terrible things that you encounter along the way, these are the things that aren't in the building your business manual. Mm-hmm. Learning to master yourself, and I'll say this to anybody that'll listen to me, that's the hardest thing I've ever done. Mm. I can't think of a challenge that I've had more trouble with than managing myself and managing, you know, my emotions, my schedules, all the things to make myself efficient, where you were sort of saying before, you know, your meditation and your daily process. I used to often look at all this daily process stuff and go, oh, you know, because you'd see, you know, the high-performing, pristine human beings with their yoga mat and their Armani outfits and, you know, preaching that, oh, well, this is the way. And I'm like, oh, fuck you, dickheads. Like, I don't want to see that shit. I don't want to preach that like that. And I've come to appreciate it like, oh, damn it, they were actually kind of right. The presentation didn't come across the way I wanted to receive it. But I've discovered that sleep, diet, and exercise are like the three fundamentals of my existence. And at an absolute baseline, if I don't even get those under control, anything I want to do in terms of my business or my podcast or, you know, becoming a wonderful voice actor, like none of those things are going to happen. They're not going to work because if I haven't looked after myself at that absolute baseline, none of it works. Mm-hmm. And it seems so obvious, irritatingly so. Much the same as we already have all the answers inside us.
Oh, I love that one. But that's true. That is
so
true.
annoying.
That
How
is
annoying. And you'll spend 1,000 hours in therapy to get to that. And I'm like, really? It was there all along. And I'm like, that's really annoying, but painfully accurate.
Mm-hmm. It is. It's just like they say that you've already got the people in your life. They're going to be the people that help you to get where you want to be, whether it's an introduction or whatever it may be. But, you know, I do think you've got to be ready to receive the information. And, Scott, that is the truth. You really need to be ready to, you know, I can talk to you till I'm blue in the face and say this is how you should do it. And to be honest, meditating, having a cup of tea, doing this may not be everybody's, but you've got to find the things that make you happy. And I've probably learnt that, and also with homes, I do the same thing. Find the things that make you happy. You are going to have your home, what makes you feel comfortable and what makes it a good place for you to be and supports you is going to be different to what, for example, you like. You know, I like your digs here.
I'm still trying to figure out how to put like a 30-car garage underneath. So I need like the Batman, you know, where you go down in the lift and My wife wasn't really down with that.
Oh, Sky Homes. Now you can get apartments. You buy apartments, and your home comes up to your level.
I've seen that, but my problem is just
you wouldn't fit as many.
No, I need more space.
No, you did.
I can't have one. And people would also think there was something wrong with me with my 1997 Ford Falcon in the penthouse.
Oh. Yeah, but do you know what? See, that makes you happy. That's what you love.
Fills me with great joy.
I was like, it was funny because you talked about bucket lists with Daniel last episode, and I was like on that list, and I'm like, bucket list. Oh, he wants to go to Monaco. See, I call it Monaco. You call it Monaco.
Australia, mate. Monaco.
Australia. And I was like, oh my, that's one of my bucket list things to do. And, you talked about front covers, and I'm like, that's one of my bucket list things to do. I want a magazine. I want a home. And I think it'll get there. I've just put it out there, with your business, all the big goals, big goals. Where do I want to be? What are the things I want to do? Don't worry about how to get there. That's one thing I have learned more recently. Look, I'm probably a visionary, not a manager so much as in, doing the planning. But, if you focus on the big things and where you want to get there, the how is going to happen.
And I think that that's also a unique skill. And we actually talked about this earlier, where being the person at the front, the one that can clearly see a path ahead that no one else can see, is an extraordinary gift. And I don't know if you struggle as much as I do, but I'm actually not very good at verbalizing, which is terrible considering I work in communications. I really struggle to explain my visions to people. And as I say this, I specifically think of my wife. I'm really bad at explaining my concepts and visions to her, because when I say lots of my ideas out loud, they sound pretty stupid. But in the fullness of time, I'm routinely correct.
I am with you 100%. My husband said to me on the weekend, so what are your goals for the business? You know what? I have my goals. Sometimes I don't want to share them. Sometimes I find it hard to. Like if you said to me, what do you want to do? I'll go, oh, well, I want to be on TV. I want to write another book. I want to sell things. What do you want to sell? Don't know. I want to sell something. I want to sell stuff. I want to be in magazines. I want to help people. I want to support a charity. I want to, help people find their voice. I have lots and lots of things. How do you make that into a business? Or how do you put that into your business? So I think sometimes there's people like you and I who have those ideas, but you really do need to get a great team around you, and you need to realise, I think the sooner you realise your strengths, I know that lighting up the room is one of my superpowers, and I don't say that lightly. I don't say it to be vain. I say it because I know that people feel better when they've seen me. I get little messages. I know, I'm going to be the bright, bubbly one who's going to pick you up if you're feeling a bit flat. I've also learnt that I'm not great if I'm in my own head for too long. I need people around me. That's why I guess I love my studio where it is now. We have a cafe next door. We have, real estate agent. I have a little community. And I think that's the other thing that, like BSB and, your friends, you've got your cars. It's a community. I think that is one of the things that really helps with mental health, is building community around you. And sometimes it's hard to see, what it offers you and the value. But I do really think you need to lean into that and really find the things that make you happy. So, if you like photography, go and do a course, put yourself out there and meet other people. If you like sport, go and do that. But, lean into those communities, because that does make your life more meaningful. And I think, it adds another support network that can help you, whether it's in business or in life.
And that's the thing, is I'm right there with you. And it was something that I let fall by the wayside, was, my friendships and my community and those sorts of things. I just let all that collapse because of the sole focus of wanting to build a successful business. And, to me, that was building something that paid, a decent wage. It was the money. And the money was the goal initially because that's the benchmark that we're all measured on commercially. You know, if you are successful or not, it is whether or not you can turn over the dollars is the, you know, the top rich list. I mean, that's what it is. It's who has the most. It is acquiring the most. But as I built a business that, you know, functioned, and here's the funny part. The earlier goal was I just wanted something that could pay my bills. It actually wasn't that aspirational. I just went, look, if it can cover my living expenses, that's a bloody good place to start. And once you find that point, once you struggle enough to get it to that point, and you get a few bits and pieces and you get a few trinkets, and then you go, okay, that's cool, what's next? And the problem is that what's next question, it just keeps popping up.
It does, until you find what serves your soul.
Correct.
And that is what I have learnt because, you know, like in business, I have certainly found that I'll chase things. It's not actually about the dollar value for me. I get so much more meaning helping people. And there is this thing, people, if you listen to enough podcasts and, I don't know, scroll on your Instagram or whatever, you know, it's about serving people. You find how you can add value by serving others and love. They're the two things that really, and when you're saying joy to me, you know, you bring joy. It's like that is one of the things I journal a lot too. I find that really helps me. But journaling, you know, I see that word joy comes up a lot because I'm like, if I can bring joy to others, I know that I'm going to bring joy to myself. And so I think it is, you've got to find what serves your soul, what makes you happy. And it's not the money, and because there's a lot of unhappy people on the Rich 200 list or whatever it is, you know, like.
And that's the saddest part I have found is that how unfulfilling your own individual success can become. And particularly when you sideline friendships, relationships, you know, there's a good chunk of time where I was just a terrible husband because I would always put my work decisions ahead of my family. Like, there was no question. Like, there was no question. Work came first. And collateral damage, sorry. And there are parts of that I reflect on years down the road and I go, that was not the right choice. But at the time, somebody was telling me this the other day. They said when you actually judge a case in court, they said that it must be considered, and particularly in commercial cases, you must consider the information available at the time. And so to reflect on those in hindsight is actually not fair because me at the time, still nowhere near where I wanted to be, you know, not making enough money, not, you know, and when I say not making enough money, I'm like, you know, am I going to get paid this week? Probably not, you know, that happens all the time. There was no question in my mind that if an opportunity was presented to me, I would give it everything I had. And, you know, I'm very sorry, family, but I have to do this. I do not, to me, in my mind at that time, there was no choice. Because if you don't hit that as hard as you can when that door is opened, that door won't open again. And although I am sad at the damage I did at those specific points in time, many times, repeatedly, because I would go away, and even when my son was born, I left my wife at home with a, 7-month-old child and went and did a job in Sydney because I had to. And, she would ring me on the phone and she was obviously not doing well. And I would then attempt to compartmentalise that, close that, and then focus on what I was doing, not realising the damage I was doing to my wife at home. But again, at the time, there was nothing more important to me in the world than doing the best job possible for that client.
But you've also got a wife, you've got another mouth to feed. You've got a baby. So your man inside you is going like, oh gosh, you know what? I really need this. I need it to come off. I need it to be there. And, I don't think the things I've been through, you cannot judge yourself or anyone for anything.
No.
Honestly, I didn't see my kids for 14 years. From the outside, it might look like, what? How heartless. But did I choose it? No. Did I know at the time when I separated from my husband that it would happen? No. Did I pray every single day that they would come back? Yes. There's so many things that you have to look at and consider. And I think it's very hard to be hard on yourself. And I really think that you make the decisions there with the information you have, which is what you're saying, and hindsight is a wonderful thing. It also teaches you the things you go through, teach you the lessons for ahead of you. And I can say, because I'm older than you, that you do get to a point in life where it does become a lot more about your journey, your reason why you're here. And I think some people get to that earlier in life than others. Maybe it's because of whatever circumstances they've had to deal with in their life. But I do really believe that, we're all getting there, and we'll get to that point where we'll go, okay, why am I here? What's my purpose? I guess some people go through that they'll turn 50 and they'll be like, oh my goodness, what's my purpose? Why am I here? I haven't done half the things I wanted to do. And you start to look at the other end of the clock and go, oh my goodness, it's ticking down now. And there's always that thing. But, I think that's why, you've really got to stay true to yourself. And you've got to be kind to yourself and not, I guess, criticise or judge yourself, and just go, okay, well, that's done. Can't change that. So, what can I do for now, and what can I do for the future?
And these are they're very hard decisions. They're very hard conversations, and they're very hard conversations with yourself as well. Being your own worst critic. That's always the struggle that I have and I'm sure that you're the same, is as you try to do these things and you try and figure out which way to go. I spent so many years trying to be, your grown-up professional, sharp, well-dressed, clean-shaven, trying to present, that image of success. Let's think those yoga-wearing, penthouse-living, well-to-do individuals.
How's the yoga going for you?
Mate, not well. I thought that was who I had to be. I thought I had to be, that stereotypical high achiever look, feel, presentation at all times. And what I did by masking and creating that persona was I ended up exhausting myself. And, the bloke that you see now in Target shorts and his daggy Crocs and his living the dream T-shirts, this is the bloke that doesn't really care because he's not real fashionable, but it's just me.
And you're happier for it.
Mate, I'm so happy. And this is the crazy thing, and I've never been, it's a terrible thing to say, I've never been happy, but never been happy. It was always trying to prove something, trying to chase something, trying to, there was always another thing. And it would annoy me no end when people would say, the gratitude and appreciate all these things. And I'd say, well, fuck you, because you don't know what is going on in here. And it was immensely frustrating because I didn't even have the capacity to feel gratitude. It wasn't there. It didn't exist. It wasn't possible. Mm. I wasn't thankful for anything because everything was more burden, more problems, more challenges, less sleep, more money, more... everything was a problem. And I would say that. I remember saying it. I'd get a phone call or an email or a text message and they, oh my God, this has gone wrong. And I'd be like, yep, throw it on the pile. Was my standard response, because this person I was pretending to be that had all the answers, he didn't have all the answers. Whereas this big bogan, he doesn't know what he's talking about. He has no answers. He has no idea what he's doing. And he's totally cool with that.
Well, you lower the expectation, and
Right.
But I'm going to two things out of that. Putting it on the pile, I want to park that. But being critical of yourself is something that I probably have. I've got a perspective on, I guess. So when I was born, my dad wanted a boy, and I was born. And my mum always used to say he didn't want to come to hospital to see you for 24 hours. Anyway, he adored me. And, I was always on a pedestal. And I think I went straight into a marriage where I was on a pedestal. So my self-confidence was high. I, really just went, yep, I'm good at this. I can do this and I can do that. So the negative self-talk didn't come till later in life when things fell apart a little bit, and being critical, to yourself. So, that's not something that I probably myself have had as a constant all the time until later. And I found it quite hard because I was like, wow, so I think, as parents, I guess one of the things we really need to work on is elevating our kids' self-worth and self-belief without getting to a point where they're so overindulged and spoiled. It's a fine line in today's times, I must say. I don't know. Being critical in yourself is just one of the things that really can kill your ideas very, very quick, I think.
And that's why you just got to put them out there.
Yeah,
That's the thing that I've come to appreciate, this new me, is like, it just doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't really.
People laugh at you. They'll go, what an idiot. And I'll go, yeah, you're correct.
Yeah.
There's no argument here.
Yeah.
Whereas, the polished fella, I couldn't handle criticism because I was perfect. And when you're perfect and people criticise you and you make mistakes, that's very hard to accept.
Mm-hmm. Perfectionism is horrible.
Terrible.
I have suffered from that because, as well, I want to be right. So I was late today.
Yeah. No, look, in your own mind, you're on time.
I was. So anyway, the other thing, putting things on the pile, just like it's problems mounting up. The things that I've probably learned in business more recently is to deal with things as they come up. And you know what? They are learning lessons. And, if you don't want to deal with them yourself, find a way to get somebody else to do it. And you did share with me about emails recently.
Yeah.
And I'm like, if you can get someone to help you to do some of these things,
massive.
in running business, you're always going to come up with challenges, I think, and the sooner you can learn to just go, okay, it's just a little speed hump, over you go, and there's no right or wrong answer. And if you learn there's no right or wrong answer, you can easily delegate it because you're like, we just, they know their left and right of arc. Let's just see if it falls over, well, we didn't do it the right way. I guess so long as nothing's critical. But yeah, there's always going to be issues in business. You're always going to have things come up, and in life. And, the sooner you sort of go, okay, it's a challenge. Sometimes I was trying to hire someone last week and I thought, fantastic, I found the perfect person. And then she called me to say, I can't start. I'm going to stay where I am. And I'm like, no. And I go, okay, what is the opportunity in this? This is what I say to myself now is, what is the opportunity? It's this or something better is on its way to me now. And I use that a lot because if you beat yourself up over oh my goodness, I'm not good enough. She's not coming to me because our business is not good enough. And well, that's probably because of me. It can kill you. Like it's just so hard to deal with, and it really demoralizes, you as a person. And it's not true. It's just a thing that's happening and around you, and you've just got to go, okay, that wasn't meant to be, but maybe I've dodged. I don't like to say it, dodged a bullet. But yeah, maybe maybe it is. Maybe it saves something else from happening, and that's probably the way I look at a lot of things. As that seem like obstacles or problems. I'm just like, okay, they're just a learning lesson, and maybe it was something else was going to happen if I kept going down that path. I don't know.
Yeah, because that is the thing, is our viewpoint of these things that are presented to us tends to make all the difference. And I would look at each thing that went wrong as, the next earth-shattering, that was the next thing that was going to collapse. Everything that I was doing, that would be the unravelling each time. Like if a client left, oh God, the business will fail. In my mind, there was a domino effect from one thing going wrong to complete failure. I couldn't fathom that there is a scale of things that, yes, that's an inconvenience, that's not great, that's not ideal. Will the whole thing stop? Probably not. And that really took me a long time to, again, just teach myself that this, as my therapist has said to me probably 60,000 times, this too shall pass. And I'd be like, shut up! I don't want to hear that.
I love that. That is my sister's. My sister uses that saying all the time because I probably, being the eldest, I always feel like I shoulder the burden of a lot of our family, things that are going on, and I worry about them, and then things come up in my life and I'm like, this too shall pass. I love that saying. I just think it's one of the best things. And yes, it is hard to see it when you're in the moment. But, once you sort of learn to listen, find your way, find the things that help you and serve you. So for you, it might be getting in the workshop and just tinkering under a bonnet for hours and hours and hours. I get a bit crazy with work and I'm busy and I go, running my daughter around or doing whatever. And then I go, okay, I need to just sit a little longer on the couch. I need to sit and have no TV. I don't watch much TV. I just find that it's too just babble going on in the background for me. And I sometimes go, okay, I need to just refocus on me, listen to my inner me, and, then I will sort of level out again and go, right, okay, let's face this with fresh eyes now.
And that's a big one, isn't it? Just giving yourself the space. Because that's the other thing that even right now today, I mean, I don't know about you, I'm sure you're the same, but I burn the candle at both ends like you wouldn't believe. And not only do I have it burning at both ends, I reckon I've got a roaring bonfire over the middle on a rotisserie.
I've seen that in a photo.
And I'm just melting it. Yeah, absolutely. I have no capacity to slow down, and I have no capacity to take on less, and I have no capacity to stop doing more things because I take on things that I enjoy. And I've actually found, and this is something I actually find really weird, is that with the things that I do, most of them don't actually need enormous amounts of attention to keep kicking them forward. They need 10 minutes a day, 20 minutes a day, half an hour a day, an hour a day to just keep nudging them forward. And that's enough. Whereas I must say I spent probably the first 10 years of my business sitting at my desk from 7 a.m. till 6 p.m. I don't know what I did all those years, I'll be honest.
Do you think when you get overtired, though, because you've been on go for so long, that you become less effective?
Oh, totally.
Yeah, I found that. And in my business, my girls just went full-time this year. They were working 35 hours a week when we were working out of home. And so I have a small team. I have 2 full-time staff and one who works 3 days a week, and she does the bookkeeping and, admin sort of functions. But the full-timers, when we moved to the studio, I said, right, you can choose your hours. And I said, we sort of need to run fairly, around the 9 to 5, but I'm not fussed. Now one drives a little way, so from south side, and we're north side. And she said, well, for us, we would like to work 7:15 to 4 o'clock, 4 days a week. And on Fridays, they work 7:15 to 12:15. So they get a long weekend pretty much every weekend, which is great. So, balance is really, really important. I have, since moving into the studio, have tried to leave at that sort of time. I do get busy, and when you say burn the candle at both ends, I have a very, very close friend, and she's in Melbourne. I speak to her every day. She says to me, Lisa, are you burning the candle? Lala, she calls me, are you burning the candle at both ends? And I go, yes. And she'll say, okay, well, I know this never ends well, and she'll say to me, you need to slow down now. You need to find a way to just step back a bit, or, it does become where you're just not effective. You sabotage things. You don't mean to, but you're just not doing your best work. And, I think for me, being that little bit older, I've probably got to a point that I know that if I don't take time out, it does really affect my health. I pretty much don't get sick, touch wood. I do sleep a lot. It's not unusual for me to get into bed at 8:30 at night. I try not to be on my phone for too long at night because it won't let me sleep. But I wake up very early, and I know I wake up early, so I make sure I go to bed early, because otherwise I find I get tired, and then, my adrenaline raises and I can't focus very well at work. So for me, I've just learnt to look for the signs. Sometimes I'll know that, there'll be people unwell around me, and they will start to, look like, and I'm like, okay, I'm starting to feel a bit tired. And you know what? I literally slow down really intentionally for 24 hours, and I just go, right, I need to go home and sleep, and I'll just go and sleep, and I need to rest, and and then the next day I wake up and I go, okay, I'm perfect again. I'm fine. So I've really learnt to listen to my body, and I think, that has served me well so far.
Sounds oddly familiar. I'm the same. I'm an 8:30 to bed because my boy also likes to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning. So that's generally when my day starts. And that's also when I train, is 5 o'clock in the morning, because I really like that time of day.
Yeah.
But I've found that now in my 40s, I have found that if I stay up, if I stay awake past 10, that is detrimental to my whole day. And I pay for it. And I find that really astonishing, how carefully I have to monitor that now, and the discipline that I have to apply to not bugger it up. And as I sort of said earlier, I said, that sleep, diet, exercise, if I don't maintain those very carefully, the wheels fall off the wagon very rapidly.
So we could run our businesses the same.
Yeah.
It would be so efficient.
Yeah.
Literally it's like, I think it's taken all these years to master it for yourself. So, it's really a matter of looking at going, okay, well, how can I do what I do in my personal life, in my business life, and do it.
And apply those same disciplines.
Yeah, do it well. And I think it is. For me, it's been about, literally keeping regular hours.
Yeah.
I am like you, finding that balance for family and business. And I think a lot of people do struggle with that as a thing. It is very hard, because when you start a business, you've got all the things you want to do, so many ideas, so many things that you want to do. And being able to find the time to do them all is really, really hard. And, for me, being a visionary, it's sort of sometimes hard to do the planning. But, I think that if you can stay focused on where you're heading, it certainly helps a lot.
Well, that's it. There's a very clear plan. We just can't explain it to people.
Yeah, okay, that's right.
There's a very clear plan. up here. It's the getting it from up here to out in front of you.
But family is, you really, that's why they talk about finding your values, finding what's important to you. And that is, it is fundamental. It's like you worked out, you're not the, yoga whatever wearing, person. That doesn't serve you. So it's, it is really finding out with your family is really important. Then you actually have to schedule time for that. You need to make sure that that's a priority, that you do get up at 5 a.m. to be with Henry, that you're not sort of getting up and going, oh, you're off to school already. Okay, bye, because you've missed that. So maybe those morning times, it is your quality time. It is the things.
Oddly, I make that time to spend with him, and I took a week off my training this week because, shenanigans last week. I ran my little camping trip, and I spend time on my off mornings, or after that I come, and I'll spend an hour with him, because later in the week we'll let him play some games. So this morning from 5:45 to sort of 7:15, we really stretched it this morning. He and I just played Mario. Yeah, and I don't even know which one we were playing. But he's like, Dad, will you play? I'm like, absolutely, mate. Because I always find it really hard when he comes up to me. He goes, oh, Dad, can you do this? Can we do that? Can we do? And I'm like, mate, I can, but
Not now.
I'm doing X, Y, Z. And that's always hard, letting him down with that sort of stuff. But I also try to explain to him that this is what you got to do. You got to make your choices. There are things you have to do. But allocating that time to just play, and like we just play and we laugh and we do that stuff, and then right, all right, we've got to get all our jobs done, get everything ready, make our breakfast. But then I'll again take the time to walk him up to school this morning, so that again we've got that other 15, 20 minutes there. And it doesn't sound like a lot of time, but it's the quality of the time is what I've come to appreciate, is that that's just me and him. We do that together, we talk, and that's special.
Do you have family mealtime together?
We don't, because we're a shambles. I'm usually still working.
Yeah.
My wife prefers to eat later. So he has regular, again, runs like a clockwork operation for him. But we go out for lunch. So he comes out with me and we sit together and we eat, and we use it as and he comes out, with my business partner, my brother, and he comes out to lunch with us, and he's only 8 years old, and I find that really beautiful because he really enjoys
growing up
with the older with the older people, and I find that that's really special. And so even though we're not your typical family and all those sorts of things, your important meal times and that, we've never maintained that because it doesn't work for
your
us.
schedule. But I think what you said about the walking together, what happens there is that you're side by side, you're not looking at each other, you can talk openly. Yeah. It's actually great. I find the same with my daughter in the car going to school. Yeah. It is one of the best times of day because we can, just sit there, talk about things, and you need to connect. And I guess that is the thing that's really important with family, and finding what your priorities is to make sure that you allocate that time, whatever it looks like for your family, and don't feel under pressure to be the perfect family sitting around the table every night, because some people will do it, some people won't do it. For us, we have a bit of a ritual, Savvy and I. We, light the candle and set the table, and we sit together. And when my husband's home on the weekends, it's a very important part of what we do, and we've done it, ever since she was little, and it's great. It's evolved over the years, but I guess the thing is, the message is really just to make it suit your work and lifestyle, and it doesn't matter what business you're doing. Every business is going to be different, and the demands are going to be different, and your peak times of focus are going to be different. When you can meet clients is going to be different. You've just got to try and put that into a framework that ticks the boxes. And to be honest, I don't think you ever feel like you've got it right. My husband lives in Canberra, and he went to Washington for 2 years, and then went to Canberra, straight to Canberra. And at the time, I'm like, this is really hard. For him to go and leave us. And Savvy was 12, I think, at the time, maybe a bit younger actually. And but that was when my son came to visit, and I'm like, you know what, it would have been a very different dynamic if my husband had been home. So things sort of work out how they're meant to work out, I think. And you sort of just adapt those.
You do, and I think that also comes back to just being kind to yourself, and the fact that we don't have family meal times. Like, I've had a few people raise eyebrows at me about that, and I'm like, well, that's just us. Like, we can't. It doesn't work. It doesn't work for the way that we are, and just because there are expectations, broader expectations, like if that trying to force something because that's what you're supposed to do goes against everything we've talked about here today. And what is it? Don't be trapped by dogma. The thoughts and expectations of others is just madness.
Well, how many are playing Super Mario in the morning? How many are playing it at all? Really, that's the reality. So I guess, you do what you can do. and be grateful, I guess, for that.
But and that's the thing, is I'm so grateful for that, because he and I laugh, and I'm there with him, and I often think about it. Where you have that moment where almost feels like a bloody out-of-body experience or something, but you're sitting there in that moment, I've got a hand on him, and I'm like, good on you, buddy. And I see that moment 20, 30 years into the future where, I'll be sitting there by myself, he'll be out living his own life, but hopefully both he and I will remember those wonderful days where we would sit there and play Mario in the morning before he'd go to school, and hopefully those will be lasting memories. I routinely have that. And when I'm putting in time with him, I try hard, and trust me, I don't get it right. I get it wrong a lot. But I really try to be effective in those times where it's a nice time, whatever we're doing. If we're, as I said, cooking, driving, whatever, but that it's a nice time, and the memories that we're building together are strong, kind, pleasant, loving memories.
You'll remember them.
Yeah.
They'll remember them. I'll tell you, my daughter and I, she's like, Mama, you are my best friend. It makes my heart sing. I just love it so much. She has been my focus for so long, outside of business, I guess. And, it's always been that balance. I worked at home for so many years because of that reason. And I think, you do what you need to do to make it, and if you put the hard work in, it will pay off in bucket loads, I think as they get older. And if you've missed the boat, then you can only move forward with it, I guess. That is the thing. You've just got to look at where you're at now and what you can do to bring together or reconcile it with yourself, and probably not, and be kind to yourself, which you said.
And that's the big one, isn't it? That kindness to self. Because I come back to that because it's something that took me so long to figure out. I spent so many years berating myself in my work and in my life, going, you're not where you should be, you're not doing enough, you're not enough, you're not deserving, you're not my internal monologue was not great. And when I first sort of started seeing somebody and talking to them, they said, you've got to understand what you've done is you have built neural pathways that go a certain direction, and yours are not great. And, it's the M1, there's bloody 8 lanes going in that direction. And, it's very hard to get off. There's only limited spots you can get off that. But you have built this super highway of just horrible things that you say to yourself. And there's a process to undoing that, because once you are under load, under stress, under duress, tired, run down, whatever, those new pathways that you're trying to make, mate, they just collapse and you go straight back on the old
back on the highway.
M1 of destruction. And these are not things I'd ever even thought about. And, I spoke to you earlier that all the years that I started my business, and it's part of why I got involved in Brisbane Small Business, I could never find anybody that would mentor me. And I tried, and I reached out to people, and I tried to find people that would work with me, help me, teach me, show me the way, show me what to do. And I never found anyone willing or able to help me. So I've always just relied on myself, despite desperately wanting help. And it was part of why I put my hand up to be involved as part of their leadership and those sorts of things. Was I wish I'd had someone to speak to. I wish I'd had someone to speak to. And I wish I had someone with lived experience, and I wish I had someone, with kindness and empathy. And I guess I try to be the person that I wish I had. So someone that has done it, that will allow you to make the mistakes and then go, okay, so how did that go? And provide, not dissimilar as I do with my son, kind, loving, firm. There is a right way, there is a wrong way, and then there's everything else. and everything else, the answer's generally there. And my big benchmark for most decisions is, as long as it's not illegal or immoral, it's,
I think I've heard you say that on this before.
Yeah, just fucking send it and see what happens. Because if you can, that's my North Star. Try and stay on the right side of things. Don't do things that, because they will inevitably catch up with you. And I'm not bright enough to keep all my porky pies together, so I don't tell any, and then I don't have any trouble. And that's
the way to be.
It's a way to be. But as I was saying, that was the mentor that I wanted, and that person never came, and that was a source of immense frustration as well. The fact, because you sort of go, am I not good enough? Am I not worthy of somebody providing time, guidance, advice? Do I just seem like a fucking idiot? And they go, well, why on earth would you help this guy? Look at him, what a clown.
But a lot of that's your internal talk.
Well, you remember how I said that wasn't good internal conversation.
Yeah.
But now that I guess I call part of the struggle of explaining these things, much like my dumb ideas, is finding the language to best explain these processes.
You know what? Put it out, dumbass. That's the way to do it. You just say it as it is, and you don't worry about what other people are going to think about it. And, I think that is the reality. And do you know what? A lot of the ideas were probably already in your head. And, just because, do you know what? They're not doing what you're doing because they can't do it, And so you just hadn't met the right person. And maybe mentors came in many shapes and forms. And I think that is not to expect everything from one person. And I think, you and I have met for a certain reason. And, I want to talk a little bit more about your camping trips. But, I think it is a matter of really looking at taking things from people's that you meet and situations you're in. Sometimes I don't know, is it the saying, friends are there for a reason, a season or a lifetime. And I'm really big on that. And I think it's probably actually in my back of my book.
That's a good one.
It is. They are. I think that the editor for my book, we met by chance as we both posted into Canberra. And my husband came back and says, I've met this lady by the pool with a kid. And I'm like, oh, really? Anyway, I met them and I'm like, we've stayed friends. It was just like them amazing. And, I have some friends that have been with me for life, and they've been there for such a long time. Some people come into your life, or people you interview for jobs, and they're there for just a short time. You learn something from it, a reason. It's like, okay, you were going to learn that right now. And, a season, it's just a period in your life, and you'll have people like that come and go in your life, and you learn so much. I guess as a military wife, I've learned, I see a lot, I deal with that a lot because I live in a fairly enclosed street. There's 17 defence houses, and every 2 years they rotate a lot. Well, not everybody, but they rotate, and it could be on odd and even years. So the neighbours you have at the moment won't be the neighbours you have in 2 years, and maybe even a year. So people come and you spend a lot of time together. You will spend your Friday nights or Saturdays with your kids in the street, getting to know people, and then they'll move and you may not see them again. And it was great while it happened, and there was things that came out of it that I learned, and then, you're like, okay, and the next person moves in and something else happens. And I guess it's just one of those things. Like I really like that saying, a reason, a season or a lifetime.
It's bloody good. That is a bloody good one. And it's funny as you said that. I'm thinking about all these people in my life and all these experiences and people that have come in and out and then back again, or, have ended up at a distance for no particularly good reason, just life takes you in those ways.
Yeah, exactly. They're just, they were there, you learnt things, and, like BSB, we'll go there, we'll, meet people, and I really encourage people to come to the face-to-face events, because I think that, for me, and I don't know if I shared this, but my reason for joining was, to get out of my own space and do some of the things, and it really was to force myself to meet other people, and, you know, you never know. I always think you never know who you're going to meet, and you never know what, you know, value you could add to their life or they could add to your life. I've joined them more, you know, like not just for me, because I don't really, I want to meet people. Like I've got some amazing plants in my office. I met some people there and I'm like, oh my goodness, you know what? I need my plants done in my office and I have not got time to do it. You offer this service, can you come and do it? And it looks amazing, and I'm so happy because I'm supporting someone else, and I've got this fabulous office full of plants, and I love it, and it's better than I could have done. You know, I've met people who've helped with all sorts of things, and you know, it's great to be able to talk about that. You know, and then people have come to me, and you know, you do interior design. Would you do this for my house? You know, and that's just an opportunity to, you know, to help. But I don't go there going, I'm going to meet people and they're all going to want to hire me. It's not what I've gone there for. I've gone there to talk to people, to talk to like-minded people, to help people. I've met another person there who lost his son less than a year, like it was only really recently. And I was like, wow, you know, it's hard, but, you know, why did we meet? We stood there, we talked about it, we, you know, found that common ground. And, you know, it's like, oh, wow. You know, for him, he did say to me, you've been able to talk about it. I'm really thankful that you're actually able to share your story, because it makes other people go, I'm not odd. You know,
Correct.
I'm, you know, yes, put your hand up. I struggle with my mental health. I think, you know, there's a lot of people that do, that won't say anything about it for, you know, the fear of being judged. And it's like, you know, what even does it mean? It just means I'm having a bad day. Maybe I'm having a bad week. I'm having a bad month. You know,
Mate, for me, it's the whole life. I just tell people I'm a walking shit show, and we go from there.
Oh.
Again, just keep the bar low.
Yeah, and put the humour in there, because it's like an easy way to deal with it.
It's a great
and
look, and
it's like
it's why I lean into comedy, because it is. It's a wonderful way to deliver terrible messages.
Yeah,
It just makes it easier,
yeah.
because you can do it with a smile and a, you know, bit of cheek, but you can deliver something that.
Do you think people take that seriously?
You change your tone when you take it seriously. But you can open the door with and sort of let people know that their guard doesn't have to be right up, that it's okay. You know, it's not going to be, you know, it's all right. Mm-hmm. It's okay. Safe space.
Safe space. So that leads into that camping trip you had to. I am like so impressed, because I just take my hat off to you. Honestly, it is the best thing, and I can't believe that, you know, you're using your lived experiences to really just create a safe space for other men to be able to use their voice, and to feel like they belong, that they don't have to be perfect.
Correct. And to apply context for people that might not know what we're talking about, I have a bit of an alter ego that loves his crappy old Land Cruiser, and, you know, I love camping and I love getting outdoors and all these other things. And it's something I did a lot as a young fella. And I had a big group of friends, and one of our absolute must-do on the calendar was we'd go camping every Easter. We'd go to Hastings Point. We'd be down there for a week, you know, getting blind, doing all the stupid things, having a great time, talking shit, you know, fires, all the good stuff. And then as life gets serious and you get real jobs and you get partners and all that goes away. It just stops. People stop going. And then those people that were such integral parts of your life, you see them once every 3 years, and you catch up and you laugh about what you did 20 years ago, and you go, oh, I wish I'd catch up again soon. And then another 3 years pass. And a few things happen simultaneously where I helped my brother organise a bucks party for one of his mates, and, you know, we sort of all went to school together and all sort of know each other, and they're a shambles, and he couldn't organise it. And I said, mate, let me just take care of this for you. And I put together a camping trip to go to Stratty. and took these fellas over there. And, many of them I'm friends with as well. They work with our business. They're, their clients, their friends, their supporters. We had the best, 4 days I'd had in 15 years. We were camping, we got our swags, we got our 4 drives, we're on the beach, we're fishing, we're kicking a footy, we're laughing, we're telling jokes. You just, the greatest days. Your mobile phone doesn't work. And it was just magical. And we all got back after that trip and said, we should do that again. And what I realised is that these things need somebody to just sort it out.
Take the bull by the horns and do it.
And it turns out I was that person. So I said to them, I don't care if one person comes or if none of you come, but I'm going to be here. I'm going to, I think it was Morton Island or something, and I said, I'll be here from the Thursday to the Sunday. If you want to come, figure it out yourself. Here's the barge I'm on. Here's where you book. Put a little group together, a little chat thing, and I said, that's where I will be. And probably 10 people, I reckon, would have gone and just turned up. And I made stubby coolers for them so that, when they turned up, they had a stubby cooler. And it was all, just good fun. And what has happened is the fellas would, they'd jump in with other people, and then they've gone and bought their own 4 drives. They've sold the car that they had and literally bought a 4 drive and bought camping stuff and bought fridges and all the things. And this last trip that I ran had about 25 people on it. We are now at the stage where I've just developed our new camp kitchen.
I saw that.
That I have named the Mungatron. So it has, running water and folds out and does all the things. It also has a commercial grill, a commercial hibachi, and the pièce de résistance, it has a commercial deep fryer. So as part of my gift to the fellas that were living the dream with me on this last trip, so everybody got a beanie to keep you warm because we're out at Gordon Country, mate, we made deep fried wings, jalapeno poppers, Dagwood dogs, onion rings. We are out there with this 3200 watt Eagle generator running a commercial deep fryer because I had to go down the rabbit hole of how much draw, so how much current these require. And then I had to track down a deep fryer that wouldn't draw too much power. So I went right down the rabbit hole of how this would all work, and then found a commercial kitchen supplier, and then went and sourced all the bits and pieces, and I'm running 15 amp cable. I take anything I do, I do way too seriously. And then my friend Jimmy and I put all this together, and he helped me orchestrate this whole thing. But the joy that it brings me, one of the other blokes, he brews his own beer, James at Yarn Brewing Co. And same exercise. It was something he just did for himself, and I've really encouraged him. I've actually made him a logo and done all the things. And he had 2 kegs of beer. He made a keg of rum and coke, and then they made a keg of punch. And we have a ritual called cocktail hour, and they had the punch on for cocktail hour. One of the blokes comes around with the little umbrellas that you have in a fancy drink. So we're out there, we haven't showered in 2 days, and we're there, with our cocktails and Dagwood dogs and wings. And the stupidity of it is for me. The stupidity is for me. I love it. I love I go, what a fucking stupid idea. I should do that. Because I also had, this time I had disco lights, I had laser, I had a fogger. So at night we had the whole thing, the bloody campsite's pumping. People are still dumb enough to camp next to us. I'm like, mate, you're not in for a good time. What I'm doing with this is, just from a group of friends, is basically to find a place or create a space that allows, so it's just been the fellas, because I've found that they're the worst at talking to each other and making time for each other and getting together with each other, and then being open and honest with each other. And it has created a space where you can just be yourself, and you can, mate, I say to the people that attend, I say it is whatever you want it to be. If you want to come and have a rager, if you want to go for driving, if you want to cook, if you want to sleep, if it like whatever it is to you, that's what it is. There's no other goal other than to get together with people and to enjoy the company and enjoy the time. And it's become very special. And it's something that we all look forward to. It's something that has created a strong knit group of friends. We laugh together, we banter together. We've got a little WhatsApp group and we, constantly talking shit in there. But what it did was it filled that enormous void where there was just such distance between us, where you'd go to message somebody and you go, whoa, haven't sent them a message since 2015. That's super awkward. Yeah, I'll probably leave that one. Because it was too, hey, how's life? Because I had no idea. Mm-hmm. It has had the capacity to bring together a group of friends. And it has been really special. And it has been really special as, people have spoken to me and opened up to me about what's going on for them and what's going on in their world and have sort of said to me that doing these things and building this friendship group has made a difference for them and that it has helped them and it has given them something to look forward to and it's been a really beautiful experience.
Rewarding.
Yeah.
And you know what? It's a why. It really is a why in your life.
Mate.
And, that's what, when we talk about finding your why, that's what it is. Something that gives it meaning, something that makes you feel good. You're not making money from it, and does it make you so much happier? And that's the thing that
exponentially happier.
Yeah, exactly. And I think for like the people I've lost in my life, if my brother had that network of where he could feel like he could talk, I'm sure that those conversations that you have in between will help your friends, immensely, all of you, whether it's you or with other people in the group, but it just makes them go, I'm not alone. I'm not, actually that's a kids charity that I've sort of seen. You Are Not Alone. It's schoolboys started it and, they're supporting kids of their age, but it is, really is that you aren't alone in this world. You just got to find that, support the things that are going to help keep you going and, and support you, whether it's in your personal life, in your business, your friend network. You can focus only on your family or you can focus only on your business, and something's going to suffer. So it is about finding that. So it's a bit like that balance, isn't it? Those, friends are important as well, and networks and community and finding that balance. And, when you find things like that make you happy, and it might be for a season, you might get to a point where you go, okay, I'm done with doing that. I need to transition to something else. Who knows?
And I've actually said that, and I've said, we'll keep doing this as long as it's fun. But the problem is it hasn't stopped being fun. So we're going to keep doing it. And it's, I don't know, all of it, I don't know, I just find all of it, a little bit weird, a little bit funny, a little bit, I have no idea what's going on. And I can't explain all of it again in any really good detail. I just know that there's something there that's worth pursuing. And the strength of those personal relationships is something that, I come back to, because when you are just on that island by yourself in your own mind, in your own space, with your own challenges, as we've said, that's not a good place.
No.
It's not a good place. Whereas if you have people around you, not dissimilar to what we're talking about here with, this BSB community, and making it a place where you can feel heard, feel safe, feel supported, that you don't just have to present how successful you are. There's nothing that frustrates me more, honestly, when I actually meet people at these sort of events and they want to tell you how big and fantastic their business is. I immediately assume that they're struggling. because that's what I would do. Is when my business was nowhere, I would spend all my time trying to impress people.
Do you ever get to the end of a networking event and, find that the best time you've had is like when you ask somebody, tell me about what you're doing, instead of it being about you, and you go, tell me a bit about what you're doing, and, just look for things, so ways that you can help them rather than focusing on who are you, what do you do, how can you help me?
Because that is they're all the wrong answers. And this is the problem with it. And I know now that when I see people, spruiking, I go, mate, they're probably bloody desperate to get another dollar in the bank account. Whereas when people ask me what I do, I tell people I do colouring in. Because I don't really want to talk about what I do, because it's not that interesting. Like I literally do colouring in. Like I make pictures, and I like it's ridiculous that I do grown up colouring in. It's madness. I want to, what do you do? What are you about? How did you get there? That's the conversation I want to have.
Because you're not technically a small business.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're under 10 million, you're a small business.
Still a small business.
Absolutely, and we're way under that. We're not even close. And we're just a little business. This is a family business. It's literally me and my youngest brother, so it couldn't be more of a family business. And then a friend of mine that I met when I was running a gym when I was 22 or 23. He was a fella that I met who came in, who had a phenomenal energy about him, and we've become lifelong friends and business partners.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
How do you find having partners? What are the pros and cons?
Great. It's fucking great. As long, because I have two businesses, I've got another one as well, actually, and it's something that I'm going through at the moment. If you are not aligned, if you are not the same sort of person, if you don't have the same sort of values, if you don't trust each other,
Cactus.
It won't work. Because we have another business where we have different risk profiles. Myself and my business partners are a bit younger, they're a bit older, and our visions do not align, which makes it very difficult because we want to go one way, they want to go the other way, and that's terrible. Whereas in my business TBR, all we ever wanted to do was build our own thing. We just wanted our own agency. We wanted to make our own stuff. And it was funny. It made me think of it earlier. Whenever I am working with our teams, because we shoot TV commercials, we do all sorts of stuff, and they'll ask me, what are we going for? And I'm going, we are trying to make it beautiful. And I say that over and over and over again, is that I go, if you're given the opportunity to do this stuff, just try and make it beautiful. If you smile, if you look at that and you go, that is beautiful, odds are it's probably pretty good. I find that to be a wonderful benchmark with creative people.
Oh, I was going to say, we do the same. We look at it and go, if you love what you've produced at the end, the clients are going to love it.
Clients will love it.
And, yeah.
Yeah, make it beautiful.
But that's all about enjoying what you do, isn't it?
Totally.
Just loving what you do. So
Totally.
if you don't love what you do, get out and do something else.
Do something else.
That's actually the biggest thing is if you don't, I guess look, I put it pretty brutally, but if you don't like what you're in, like my marriage, you don't like it, get out, and then you've got to wear the consequences. You're going to, it could be a hard journey, but do it. And that's what for me, I think if you're doing something you're unhappy in business, find something you love doing.
Bail out,
Yeah, just
or at least start something on the
side.
People start, the side stuff. I run, and I call them research and development businesses because I just tinker with things and I try things and I just see what they do. And I love that, building little online stores or little things and just seeing, and look, if they don't even necessarily turn a profit, that doesn't even worry me that much because of how much I learn in the doing. But by exploring each of those things, you then don't leave that unturned. You go, okay, I think this might work. And you just try. And that's what I've come to appreciate with all this stuff that we do, is that you can run your main business and you can do all the things and you can make that work as well. But it is also important to explore outside of that lane, because by exploring outside of that lane, you actually find things in complete opposite directions that end up helping the main business that you would have never encountered if you hadn't gone down that path. And I find that to be extraordinary. I helped my wife. She was interested. She was like, oh, maybe I can do a little business. She's, very interested in, and I noticed rose quartz on your on your arm there. And she said, oh, look, I'd be interested in doing that. And I said, right. So I went and found a supplier and I set up the things and I was like, okay, how do you photograph jewellery? I don't know. All right, you need one of these boxes. All right, get one of those. And I put the whole thing together for her and I built her a brand and I built her a Shopify store and I built the whole thing by myself because I went, I'll just do it and see what happens. And look, it didn't go anywhere. She didn't have the headspace at that point in time to do what was required to keep it going. But what I have learnt from that, I have now rolled into new projects. I have rolled into client work. And for my little Living the Dream brand, I now have 500 pairs of croc lights because, the people have asked, so I'm going to deliver. And that little photo box that I bought for the jewellery is what I'm using to photograph the croc lights. And again, I have these skills and these tools and all these things that if I hadn't gone down that path that went nowhere, and I spent time and I spent money and all the things on that and they went nowhere. But if I hadn't have done that, I wouldn't be prepared for when the next opportunity came along, which is when you post a video and it suddenly gets 30 million views and you go, we should probably try and sell a few of those.
Unbelievable.
Absolutely. And then you go, okay, well, that's better prepared me for this next little adventure that, again, it might totally bomb and I might sell one pair and then the whole thing and I go, well, that was a learning experience. And do you know what? Every single kid we know is going to get a pair for Christmas. So I just always look at things like that and go, if you can test it at a small scale, spend $1,000, $2,000, whatever, test it at a really small scale, the risk is minimal. And you can try the thing and you can go, do I like it? Does it work? Yes or no? And then make the next decision. But if you don't pursue those things, if you don't try and if they just sit in the back of your head as a thing, I should really try, I should really do, they'll continue to irritate and aggravate.
Point in case, that book, honestly, 20 years ago, I was
Correct.
like, I want to write a book. No idea what. I wasn't even doing interior design, but it was sitting in the back of my head. I want to write a book one day. I want to write a book. I want to write a book. And unless you do it, you're not going to scratch that itch, are you?
And mate, I say the exact same thing. You got to scratch the itch because, when you feel that itch, and you're like, the satisfaction when you actually get it. The old mosquito bite or something. If you do the thing, if you cross it off, if you do it, good, bad, or otherwise, you've done it, and that then allows space for the next thing, and you then have the benefit of the lesson and the experience. And I don't see any of these things, even when I present them to my accountant, he'd go, what a failure. Actually, he wouldn't. He's a pretty good guy. But on a money in, money out,
ouch.
Simple P&L
I just
basis.
go, ouch.
Yeah, total catastrophic failure. But in the game of life that we are playing, total win. 100%. No matter what it says on the scoreboard, it's a win because I learned something. And that approach continues to serve me well because I mentioned to you, and it's something that I'm actively working on, I think that there is something with my voice work. I think that maybe that's something I can do. And I've literally been recently Googling how to be a voiceover artist. And even reached out to a fella that I know, not personally, but through the roundabouts. Yeah. And he was kind enough to come back to me and say, I've been at it for 16 years. That's helped. Was, the long, he actually gave me a really beautiful description. And sort of the process of trying and continuing and, basically just chipping away. Because I said to him, do I need to look for representation? Do you do that? Like, what's the path? And he said, honestly, I'm not sure. He said, I'm not sure. But it's just that you continue to pursue. But honestly, knowing from somebody who does it professionally at a very high level that the answer is I'm not sure, that's great. Because that means what I'm doing right now is perfect. Because each time I do it, I try to be a little bit better. And my brother Tim, my business partner, he listens to all these shows that we record, and then he gives me notes and he goes, oh, mate, did you know that you repeat yourself like this, or you say that, or you use these joining words? And I go, oh, okay, cool. And I then become aware of that. And then in my day-to-day speaking, I catch myself doing those things that are ingrained, and I try to trample those out. And so over the course of the next X number of years, I would like to become a very comfortable speaker. And what better way of becoming a very comfortable speaker than having a podcast?
Amazing.
Crazy
You
town.
get to talk all
Mate, you get to talk all the time. And oddly, I really like talking to people.
Funny about that.
I don't know how to monetize it. And again, if you look at this on a P&L basis, I've spent a pile of money. I've spent a pile of time. And it has generated no monetary return. And I first started trying in 2019. We're now in 2023. And I am still running at a net loss on this project. However, I would suggest that I'm miles ahead because I'm now significantly better at that skill. I now have a podcast studio. I now have people coming and talking to me. I have an audience listening to me. And effectively, because of this podcast, I ended up going to Goodwood Festival of Speed and, with a historic Formula One team. And none of that would have happened.
So they're not financial. They're not, they're different outcomes that you didn't set out to get.
Never even imagined. Totally blind to the opportunity. And what's funny is if you look at the original episodes, they were born out of BSB because part of my role was to try and talk about marketing things and, provide information. And I did that 7 times and I didn't like it. I'm not a very good preach type person to go, here are the things that you need to do.
But there's plenty of people out there doing that, Scott. There's so many people. And I feel like the content becomes same.
It's the same thing over and over.
And, what you and I are talking about today is more about real life.
Totally.
It is like, these are the struggles. We're business owners and these are things that we've had. These are not necessarily business related. They're personal, but they impact your business life. They are your why. They are your, why do we need the network to network? How can we do it better rather than going in there? What can I sell? What can I offer? How can I help people? What are the things I'm doing? And then, appreciating what you have. I think going into your podcast even, like I would be like, don't say it's not money, making money, cancel. I'm a bit like, maybe it will one day. Maybe the big picture is it will, but it may not be the actual podcast. Someone's not going to come in and pay you a ton of money to talk.
Not to do this.
No, but it's the opportunities. It's the people you meet. For me, I put down as one of my goals is that I wanted to talk. I wanted to use my voice. I want to share what I've been through. And so you've been a vehicle for that. You've been able to offer me the opportunity to speak, to share the experiences that I've had so that I can then, maybe help someone, in whatever capacity it is. It could be reach out to me, talk to me if you're struggling. And, it could be share your experience. It could be, oh, okay, I heard someone talk about this. It happens to everyone. It's not just me. I'm not dumb, stupid, whatever. It's normal. It's a wonderful thing to be able to talk and use your voice and to think how you can help humanity? How can you help others? How can you help the world to be a better place?
And that's probably the thing that as I have gone through this that has opened up to me is that I want to have deeper conversations with people. That's what I want to do through this. I'm not an easy answers guy. I'm not a quick fix guy. I don't have any of those. I'm not going to spruik what I do to you. I don't want your business. I don't want to sell things to people. I don't want any of that. I want to talk. I want to learn. I want to be a better version of myself. And I would like to help other people that want to improve themselves. I would like to help that too, because you need to want to lift yourself up. And by providing a path and a space, I think that that's sort of the direction I want all this to go. And, you know, do I have an accurate idea of what that's going to look like? Absolutely not. But what I have learned is that if you just keep showing up, this is the crazy part, you know, much like it's already there inside you. If you just keep showing up, you just keep doing the thing, stuff happens. And my comment has always been crazy stuff happens. And I know that because in my career, I have done some of the craziest stuff that I could have never fathomed. And it was all because I turned up, I did my best, and then I keep turning up. Even if I'm not the best, I will keep doing it longer than anybody else will, well past, you know, the same as here where I say, you know, it's not making any money. I laugh at, I look specifically at my photography and, you know, I was shooting for a Ferrari GT3 team when I took that. That was as a guest of Aston Martin when I took that. And, you know, I look over to the side here, like my company shot a couple of commercials for Disney, and that was literally because I looked at it, I saw it, and I went, oh my God, with all my heart, I want to do that. And so I spent 5 years attacking that opportunity until I got the chance to do that. And all of those things happened. Like, I'm not the best. There's better cinematographers, there's better agencies, there's better everything. But with relentless perseverance, those things all materialized far beyond my wildest expectations. And that's what I'm doing right now, right here, because let me assure you, when I was going to Archerfield Drift Track and Queensland Raceway and Lakeside and Parklands every weekend, I would go on a Thursday, on a Friday, on a Saturday. Like, my wife did a master's degree because I was away so much. So I'm not even joking. She was like, oh, well, you're never home, I'll do this. And yeah, but, you know, she supported me in doing those things. And I paid my own way for everything. Like, nobody paid me. There was a point there where I was doing a national series. I spent $10,000 of my own money that year following that series around because I went, right, to hit the next level, I have to be at every round. So I flew myself to every round, paid for everything. So not only am I not getting paid, I'm spending my own money to be there. Like the dumbest. Like in what alternate reality, like just the dumbest. And I think that that's part of the challenge that I don't think can be fully realised until you've done it. That if you want something, that's what it takes. Like, it takes nothing less than absolute commitment to the point where you are willing to believe in your idea so much that you will go backwards for a significant duration until it flicks. And that magical when it flips point is to be determined. But if you persist long enough, it happens. That's all I figured out.
But you had in your mind what you wanted to achieve.
Crystal clear.
And, you know, I think you have to, you know, I always think the universe will take care of things, but I also think you do need to co-create. You know, you need to really put in that effort.
Put in the work.
You've got to put in the work. You know, like I have this knack of just going, okay, I want to win an award. So I put it out there and make things happen. You know, I work hard I show up, I do it, I win an award. I want to be in a magazine, and, you know, it happened. You got to be in the right place. You've got to do the right things, and you got to, you got to want that.
And you've got to verbalise it.
But you've got to verbalise it. I'm very much like you. You need to say, I want to do this.
You've got to say out loud, as silly as it might sound.
Yeah.
You just got to put it out there.
Yeah. Yeah. So, when think, when you want to do voiceover work, you've just got to put it out there and go, I want to do that. It's something I'm working towards.
I said it on the last episode. I want a guest spot on Bluey, the children's TV show. And I mainly want it because I have had people come up to me, and this is my favourite story. This is a great one. I was at Beefy's. I don't know if you know there's a wonderful pie shop, and it's it used to be the Edinburgh pub on the side of the road just north of the Caloundra exit. And I'm in there, ordering a pie. I've got my wife and my boy, and I'm there, just chatting away as I do. And this other fella comes over to me and he goes, "Mate, excuse me." He said, "Oh, look, I'm sorry to interrupt." He said, "Mate, you're not the guy that does the voice for Bluey, for the dad, are you?" And I said, "Oh, mate, I wish I was. Unfortunately, I'm not." I said, "I'm happy to sign something for you." But I've had a number of people sort of come up to me and go, "Oh, God, that's you." And I'd never heard it, and I obviously wasn't doing any of the podcast stuff at this point in time. But I've had enough people come up to me over time and go, "Oh, God, you sound like that guy from Bluey." And I'm like, "All right, can I just be like the bogan uncle in Bluey? Can I just rock in and have a couple of lines?" To me, that would be the greatest. That would be a pinnacle of my life, to voice a cartoon character on a children's show, because I think it's beautiful. It is beautiful. You see the level that they work to on that show, and some of the recording and stuff, when they're actually doing sound for it, they go out around Brisbane. There was one in particular, I saw the sound designer, the kids were playing at a playground in the show, and so they went to that playground with their audio equipment and record the actual noises of a local Brisbane playground to go into this show that is produced in Brisbane. I'm like, that is a special kind of magic, where you're putting that sort of love into what you're creating. And so, I took it as a real honour that they thought that was my voice. I said, "Oh, mate, I wish." Do you know the other one? I'm routinely mistaken for Shane Jacobson.
I was going to say that. I was going to say, have you ever been asked to that? Honestly,
oh my God.
I was about to, when you were speaking before, I'm like, oh, you know who I think it is? Shane Jacobson. I was like.
So, funny story. You ready for a funny story? I've emailed Shane Jacobson's agent. So if anybody out there knows him, can you hook a brother up? But basically saying that it's got to the point now where so many people say it to me. I go, "Oh, yeah, I'm Shane's stunt double."
Oh.
And I go, "I'm number one with your number twos." And I've laughed that we've never crossed paths, because I obviously have done a lot of work in performing arts over the years, and he actually runs does a lot of theatrical work, but is also very heavy in the automotive world. And so I've laughed that we have these oddly parallel existences. I am routinely mistaken for him. So I mean, that's just his, I need a side by side of me, and the man.
Just make one on social.
Well, I could do that, but that feels kind of creepy. So I've sort of put it out to the universe that me and Shane Jacobson need to get together and talk some smack. So, I'd love to get him on the podcast. I've tried multiple times, but I'm still falling on deaf ears. But I'm going to throw that out to the universe and go, if anybody knows Shane, can you hook me up? Because he and I definitely need to talk. And look, Bluey, I'm talking to you. I desperately want to voice act on your show. And isn't that hilarious? Out of all the things you could want to do, but it's that sort of stuff where I'm just looking at the experience and going, what a wonderful, ridiculous, fun, crazy thing to pursue. And that's the sort of stuff that, aside from, my real work where I actually have to deliver
Well, I was going to say, you still need to have your real work. You still need to, have what pays the bills.
And you've got to work your butt off at that.
I was going to say, and you've got to get to a point where you can go, okay, how do I do this as well now? Because I want to have fun. I want to enjoy. And I think that's why it takes so long, because, you're focused on things. Like, I think even last episode, Daniel was like, got the house. It's like you've got to work up to these things, and you focus, and it is the seasons in your life,
Mate.
and it is the chapters that make the book, isn't it? It is the seasons, and you really, when you're younger, everything you're earning is being spent. It's on kids, it's on getting a house, it's all the cars, the bits and pieces, and I guess if you don't put as much pressure on yourself, you're not going to have to spend as much. But it's only as you get a little bit older that you can afford yourself the luxury of time to be able to explore some of the things that actually personally fulfill you, and the things that really motivate you and keep you happy, and you can start to look at giving back.
And they're my favourite things, oddly. And the giving back, that I had a 3-hour meeting with my accountant on Tuesday, I think it was, and I said to him, the work that I'm doing, like with my son's school, and involving myself in that and just helping, using my skill sets to try and push those things along. That's some of the most rewarding work I've done in a very long time. And I'm astonished at how much I've enjoyed, because again, I'd never put myself out there to do that sort of stuff, didn't believe, didn't think I was worthy, etc., etc., etc. But I just went for it.
How grateful are they?
And look, honestly, a little bit, yeah, quite. Because I attack it with my same enthusiasm and my same sledgehammer force, and if I see something that needs to be fixed, I'll just barrel into it. To hell with the consequences. I'll figure out the rest later, but that needs to be fixed. We'll sort it. And I really enjoy it. Like, I really enjoy, the decades of experience that I've racked up, and then being able to use them for stuff where I don't make any financial return. Quite often I'm giving out of my own pocket to help their different endeavours. This is where I reflect on the fact that I think I'm a terrible business person. But that's the sort of business I like doing it. I'm like, wow, that's a dumb business.
I would actually say you're a fantastic business person, because you are not just looking at your own personal gain. And I really seriously believe that, and I've got a situation at the moment where I've sort of offered to do something to help a client out, no money back, but he needs it. And I know that, I recognise that, and I'm like, this is a spot where you need to be a good human being, and you need to help someone out. Will it come back? I don't know. Do I expect it? I don't. It's like, what? I can sleep at night knowing that I've done this for this reason. And I think, that's actually more important. And I think if we, if you look at if a lot more of us looked at situations like that, and it's where can I help somebody, without expecting money back. And I think that makes a fantastic business person. So cancel that whole, I'm not a good business person. You're amazing. And you do like the most amazing work for people. You do the most amazing, offer them the most amazing platform for people to speak, I think, and, a safe place for men to speak, a connection and network, a community, and they start in small, humble ways, but I think they grow. And I think people remember that, years down the path, and your little son, Henry, he will remember those things where you put your arm around him and go, I'm happy, I'm loving doing this, I'm proud of you. They're the things that when you're older, you'll still be doing that. And he'll be like, I've got the best dad, and it's like, and it will be there. And I think, the more things that you can do and not look at how you are going to gain from a situation, but how can you help other people? How can you make the world a better place? That's what they say about light workers. They're here to, shine light in this world. And, I guess that's what I now look at is like, how can I shine as brightly as possible? And how can I help as many people as possible?
To turn their light up as well.
Yes.
Dial it up to 11.
Dial it up. You found the light in me I could not find. Not turning it out now.
And honestly, I think we could keep talking forever, but if I don't bring this to a natural close, I think we should do that. I don't even know how long we've been talking.
I've
You
got
told
no
me
watch.
that my podcasts are too long. They're,
No,
'cause
they're
just
not.
meander
I like
forever.
them. I've got no idea what time it is either.
I don't know either because I don't wear a watch for these because you just want to talk.
Do you know what? They're not too long. I actually normally listen to short podcasts because it's like, what are the facts? Get things out. But do you know what I've also learned is that how important it is to actually have a connection with someone, like just being able to walk and listen to voices talk about just dumb things that are whatever. I mean, I'm not even into cars and I'm listening to all these podcasts on car people and I'm like, oh, maybe I could just I might go to see what QR is all about. I'm going to go there.
Tesla. You'd actually have a really good time.
Just like, I wouldn't mind having a look at this and seeing what it's like.
It's really fun.
Yeah.
Lots of nice people.
Well, one of my staff, she does photography of cars, just as a little side thing. We're like, wow, this is good. She's an interior designer, interior architect. And, I'm like, wow, this is pretty cool. And she goes, yeah, but I do it for time out. I do it because I enjoy it. It's something that's good for me. That's I do on the side and, as a escape from the day to day. And I'm like, wow.
See, she's already got her side project. She's already figured this out.
She's already doing it. And I'm like, wow, this is pretty cool, actually. So, yeah.
But it's a good world because it's, to those of us deeply embedded in it, that's our art. That's what I see. I see stories. I see design. I see people's work. I see labour. I see love. I see all these things when I look at vehicles. That's what I see. I see extraordinary vision from people. I see things that shouldn't work but do because somebody decided that despite all the information I am presented, I'm going to do it this way because I think that that's the way to go. And that's one of the things that draws me the most. I love the stories around all those things because they're really incredible stories when you get into them.
That's impressive. It is. It is having that vision.
Having that vision. Absolutely. Because that's where it comes from. I on a flight I was on recently, I watched it's the Lamborghini story where effectively, the boss of Ferrari is sort of, you make tractors. You can't build a car because he approaches him and he goes, well, stuff you, I'm going to build the best sports car the world's ever seen. And Lamborghini as a car manufacturer exists because of that. And the fact that they sort of, they couldn't find that common ground. And he went, well, stuff you, I'm going to make the most beautiful. Yeah, and I don't know, it was just an extraordinary story of watching the fire and the passion of somebody trying to...
I have to look that up.
Yeah,
where are they made?
Really good one. Italy.
Yeah, I'm going there next year. Do you think I could look it up?
Yeah, of course you can.
I've been to Ferrari, Maranello.
Yeah.
I went up there years ago.
They do all the factory tours.
I know. I'm going to do one.
You've got to go to Pagani as well.
Oh my gosh.
Their story is very
I need
special.
a list.
I can help you with that.
Very good.
All the wonderful places. Actually, no, you're not going to want my list. But look, as I say, I think that I'm so grateful, Lisa, that you have come here today and you have shared so much of yourself with me and with the people listening. And I'm very grateful.
Thank
I'm very
you.
grateful to you. I'm very grateful to you being open to this and sharing the way that you have. Because what's funny is we've barely talked about your business, but hilariously, when we look it up, it's beautiful. And that's one of the things that I really like about it. When I looked at your Instagram wall, whereas mine is effectively a schmozzle, I looked at yours and I'm like, oh, it's really beautiful. If people want to find you and follow you around the internet, how can they do that?
Oh, we're everywhere. Instagram, BellaVie_interiors. Website, bellavieinteriors.com. So there's no AU in there. What else are we on? Facebook, Bella Vie Interiors, LinkedIn, all the usual places.
All the things.
Hopefully on TV soon. There you go.
I have no
I'm putting it out there.
Putting it out there. It's going to be on TV.
I've done QVC, but I really want to talk about interiors, I think.
Absolutely. Mate, Better Homes and Gardens always need somebody. Lisa, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for allowing me to come and talk to you, to share my story. Honestly, I really hope that, it just helps at least somebody to to see something different. And I really appreciate it.
Thank you. For everybody listening, talk to you next time.